are here tonight. We are at Unit 17 of 1030 Halford Street of the Strata, backing onto the proposed pro-storage project. And I concur with what's being objected to, already mentioned, and that was with regard to the no parking signs, absolute no parking for Halford Street. And the reduction of setbacks, we object to that as well. And I think of a sociological term which, from my university background, where it talks about gradualism. There are very little changes over a long period of time that could take place that would end up with a massive change over a period of 10, 15 years. This is what we are objecting to with regard to the gradual creeping in of the pro-storage project with regard to reducing the setbacks that are already established in the bylaws. So I'm here to concur with what's been said in opposition to the project as mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. I'd like to invite the next speaker.
Good evening, my name is Art Beck. I live at 3544 James Heights, and I'm speaking on behalf of Quadra Cedar Hill Community Association. We looked at this project in conjunction with the applicant, well, a year ago, so it's been a while in grinding through the process. And at that time, there were no shipping containers at the front of the building, but nobody informed us from planning that there had been a fairly major alteration in the front shape of the building, or in the vision street presence of the building. So we have not actually made comment on that. Our concerns at the time still exist. We do have concerns with the graphics on the side of the building, those orange doors that, well, they're not orange doors, they're made to look like orange doors. It's in our sense a form of signage for a storage facility, and as such it is our contention, not staff, that is not in keeping with the signage bylaw of the District of Saanich. I guess our other concern is that we do see this as a property in transition, and while we cannot dictate to the owner of property how they should best use their property, we are concerned that with a storage unit spending this much money in terms of building the units in this area in transition, this will be probably one of the last buildings to go because they will want to recoup their investment in the storage facility. So we had the concern that we've got this big building that's now only going to employ one or two people in a light industrial area. So but like I say, that's just our concern, and we can't really speak to the owner's right to do what he wants with the building, but to us it's a concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beck. I'd like to call the next speaker, please.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I don't have a prepared speech, and I wasn't actually going to speak. I live on 1057 Halford Street.
Would you share your name with us?
Steve Dainard, pardon me.
I'm sorry?
Steve Dainard, D-A-I-N-A-R-D. I've been a resident at Halford Street for 30 years. I was there when Eddie Goodwill put the plant in, walked up and down the street, and made promises that he kept. And one of the promises was he was not going to change the way the residence was. He was going to keep it a nice place, a quiet place. It wasn't going to interfere with us, because Halford Street is a beautiful street. So in that time, it was sold. Eddie Goodwill sold it to Coca-Cola Enterprises in Atlanta, and then in turn they sold it to Beatrice Foods. Then somewhere in between that, somehow the Milnes made the acquisition. I know Lauren, I know Jordan. I spoke with Lauren on Monday. I still wasn't happy about certain things that we discussed. We're tired. We're tired. 6:20 in the morning, that place comes to life. You can't think on Holford Street. The traffic's up and down, tenants from his flooring company, from the guy that's on the corner there. It's over. Our lives are over on Holford Street. I'm going to retire next year. I drive a truck for Coca-Cola. I've driven a truck for 28 years. I'm going to try and go at 30, but I guess I'm an EV bill. And I wanted to retire on Holford Street happily. It's not happening there. If this storage place goes in there, let's not kid ourselves. If that gate is open, which is right across the street from my place, and Dwayne, who may speak, he may or may not speak, there will be hell there. Hours of operation in there on an M1 or an M3, whatever it is 6 o'clock in the morning till 9 at night. Can you tell me, when somebody's coming off the ferry with a budget truck moving in from Edmonton, we're going to catch that 9 o'clock boat, that they're not going to make any noise coming into that place at 10 after 11, 11:30 at night? That is if they abide by some of the bylaws. They might not even. Who knows? If they got push-button access to those buildings and any of those storage places there, I can just see the phone ringing off the wall at your office for these people complaining about noise. We already do it now, but we don't get any response. The gate is just one small issue with it. It's been a long-going issue, but the gate is just one small issue with it. And I see what they're trying to do. I had a really good talk with Lauren about it. I know he's trying to expand his business in there. They're smart business people. But not at the generosity that they're just taking, they're sucking the life out of that part of that community. I'm telling you, I've been there, I've seen it. There must be something they can do other than doing what they're doing out there on the outside. I'm not sure. It's a 120,000 square foot building. I get it. I understand that they're trying to make a run of that business. But I'm just letting you know, Holford Street is dying, if not dead. Come down to our street at 6:30, 6:45 in the morning with a coffee and sit there with me. Watch the show. Between Slave Lumber, the floor company, Hendra Moving, they all come yarding out of there sideways to do what they got to do. Traffic's been not helping us out. Our Sandwich Police not help us out. When we send in a complaint, we get no response. What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? It's a small little community. Leona Russell lives beside my place. She's 88 years old. That's what wakes her up in the morning now. There's trucks going by right on the firewall with a load of fiberglass in the back from Slave Lumber. It wouldn't be any difference if they were going all through the other way. That's construction business. Right? It's not one business there anymore. There's 4 or 5. And it's just destroyed us. It truly has. Anyway, I said my piece. I hope Jupe comes up. Because Jupe every morning wakes up, the headlights in his window, his bedroom window. And nobody's done anything to try and address it. Not at any level. As far as I'm concerned, that's disturbing the peace. Our peace. Every day. Not once in a while. Every day. Except for Sundays. Thank God for Sundays. I go to church. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. I'd like to call the next speaker, please.
Mr. Mayor, councillors, the name is Joan Barton and I live at unit number 12, 1030 Holford Street. I know that there are councillors here who are quite familiar with what has been taking place on Holford Street with regard to 34 Quadra Street over the last few years, I'd say, perhaps a year, year and a half. And not to put too fine a point on it, for the residents of Holford Street and its environment, it's been hell. Utter hell. That used to be, when I moved into my unit 20 years ago, a quiet little street, just a little dead-end road with very few people on it, and a closed gate. Unfortunately, times change. And now we have a situation where, despite the fact that we have a lot of nice pretty pictures and a lot of nice pretty promises, from the very beginning, the new owners made it very clear that they were not prepared to cooperate with us After all, they're in the business of the bottom line. They have to make a profit. So I suppose in, what shall I say, Macroeconomics 101, they get the benefit and we pay the cost. The previous speaker before me just pointed out what a hell it is like at 6 o'clock in the morning for the rest of the day. And that is precisely what it's like. We pay all the costs, they get the benefits. This, as far as I can see, is a clear case of market failure. Now, the feeling is there's no one to help us, but I'm going to put it to you that that's your job. There must be some way that you can find to assist the residents to overcome this hump. These folks are asking for all these changes to help them to improve their bottom line. Now, as a fat capitalist, I'm very much in favor of the bottom line, but not at the expense of everybody else, which is precisely what they're asking. I'm not impressed by a green roof, and I don't believe it anyway. After all, look at the state of the street now. What have they done? They're going to promise all these gorgeous pictures with some fancy plants and 2 trees, but in reality, that's not going to be the case. They have actually, and I won't put too fine a point on it, they have turned Holford Street into a slum, complete with graffiti on the walls and a porta potty for us to look at. There are young children who live on that street, and in the mornings you can tell the slag lumber trucks come barreling out of that gate, whipping down the street, and we have to put up with the inconvenience of the Sally Ann. Nobody who inhabits that building pays any attention whatsoever to the residents of Holford Street. So I'm here tonight to ask you as my counsel, tell them no. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Call the next speaker, please.
Good evening, Council. My name is Dwayne Juniper. I live at 1051 Holford Street. I feel like I'm personally affected every morning by what people have said, because I live directly across from this gate that points right at these vehicles. 6 o'clock in the morning, headlights wake me up. I've gone through expensive changing windows in my house, putting blinds in my house. I've moved bedrooms because I can't actually healthily, happily live in my own home. The mayor mentioned we have a right to have a healthy life in Saanich. I live in Saanich because it's a beautiful place to live. I try to raise my family there. My kids won't go outside and play because of the activity that exists across the street. There's at least 10 children on that street who I don't see anymore because of the activity. I leave every morning at 6:45. Some mornings I can't get out because there's a lineup of traffic coming out. Trucks coming down to get into the building, trucks trying to get out of the building. It's not a safe place anymore. I think everybody's made a point of the intentions of what this building, it's good intentions, but they have a commercial access on Quadra Street. The address is Quadra Street. Holford should not be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Juniper. I invite the next speaker, please.
Mr. Chair, could I, as precautionary, make a motion to extend the meeting past 11 o'clock?
In favour? Call the next speaker, please.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I didn't think I was going to speak tonight. I was actually just here to watch my brother. My name's Dave Milne, and it's, what the heck's my address? 2407 Cook. I'm actually want to speak to everybody here. It's pretty touching, kind of what I'm hearing and all that about the graffiti.
So, Dave.
Yeah. I will address, yes. Sorry, I'm kind of, like I say, I'm Lauren's son. I'm Jordan's brother, and I'm new coming into this whole thing. Basically, I'm going to be the one running this facility once it is up and running. I just recently sold my running store. You guys know it. It's Peninsula Runners. It's now Front Runners in Shelburne Plaza. I run a good business. I will be the person cleaning the graffiti off the side. I will be the person keeping this looking just like this. That I guarantee you. I guarantee all these people, I will do it, okay? I will be out there with the paint. I did the other, we do get graffiti. That's not our fault. We get graffiti, everywhere gets graffiti. My mural that was approved here 10 years. I mean, I had to do touch-ups for 10 years on that thing. You know, there's never any graffiti on it because I cleaned it. And that is what I promise all these people right here. I can't speak of the access off Slag and all that. Like I say, I'm new to this. But I can guarantee that there won't be any couches, there won't be any TVs or any garbage sitting out front anymore. I'm putting my foot down and I guarantee them that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Milne. I invite any further speakers.
My name is Leah Hutchings. I live at Unit 13, 1030 Holford Street. We moved into our property August 2014. I wasn't made aware of this situation with the storage units until a few weeks ago when we received notification of this meeting. I've never met anybody from the facility to discuss this matter and the effects and negativity that it will affect our neighborhood. I happen to know when I leave each morning, 7:45, 8 o'clock, I have to watch the taillights of trucks across the fence line just to make sure when I leave my street, I'm not gonna hit a car because the trucks go barreling out with their slag lumber materials and don't stop and just continue down Holford. It doesn't matter what time of day, if you're not watching, you're gonna get hit. It's scary. There's also the access point on Holford for the storage utility area. Used to be 2 small doors, nobody parked there. There was garbage and junk laying around, it was cleaned up. Haven't had any problems lately, except for the fact that they've been now doing the construction. And there's 2 little girls that used to ride their bikes across the street that don't go out anymore. You very rarely see them without all their family members spending time with them to make sure that the car's not gonna get hit. And it's right outside that access area. I'm concerned of the noise, I'm concerned for my neighbors who walk down the street, and I'm concerned for my fellow strata members that leave that driveway every morning that could get hit on the way out because they don't shut that gate. I agree with what my fellow strata members are saying, and I'm gonna stand beside them. I would like more community input into, if this was to go through, how it's gonna affect our neighborhood, because nobody's approached me since I've lived there. It's been almost a year and a half. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to call the next speaker, please.
Hi there. Jamie McCallum, 3914 Quadra Street. I'm around the corner from Holford. I definitely sympathize with anybody living on that street with early traffic. I first met the Milnes a few years ago when they were working on a project on Yates Street in Victoria. My business was right beside theirs. It was kind of a major project, and I was, of course, worried on how that was going to affect my business. Speaking with Jordan and Lauren and other people involved in that process, they were more than helpful. Definitely good people. They were very compliant with any concerns or well, with any concerns really with what we have. They worked with us monetarily. They were just, it was a good working environment. Although it was a major project, and they tried to make life as simple as possible for us. I don't know what it's like on Holford Street. Yeah, that would be that. From what I've heard, I don't know that. I haven't heard any complaints about the storage units themselves, I've heard complaints of the tenants that are in there, and I don't know if this new one would affect that or not. I just know that the Mellon family, and being a neighbor now, I'm confident in on a personal level, I'm confident with the Mellon, Jordan, and Lauren are looking to do. I mean, it's such a big space, and for somebody to want to fill that space, I think it's rare. Lowe's is coming into a space to save a space that otherwise I was racking my brain a long time ago. What could fill that kind of a space? What could fill this kind of a space? It's few and far between. I do sympathize with people early in the morning. You know, it's not a fun thing, I'm sure, but from my experience with Jordan and Lauren, they've been good people, and they work really hard at addressing any issues we had, and they're nice people, and I support it. I don't know what's happening on that street in particular, but I trust in what they're doing. That's all I have to say. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. McCall. I invite the next speaker, please. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Sean Dunan. I'm at number 13, 1030 Halford Street. And I'm Leah's partner. We moved here fairly shortly, about a year and a half ago. And certainly it was known there's a commercial building there. And it's really a boundary, right? You've got commercial and residential, you've got a fine line between managing it. But when development and everything spills over onto that boundary, it just grows. It's not contained, right? Being able to contain, new business is good, and we need it, right? The communities do need that. But if somebody's asking for something, you should be able to get something in return. And reduce traffic on Halford, maybe a little concessions for the people who live on there, would be a good way to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Calling for the next speaker, please. Invite the next speaker a second time. Calling a third time. Seeing none, I'll return this now to council. You have questions for the applicant? Very good. Would you like to make a response, applicant?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for hearing me, and my apologies for coming up earlier. I didn't realize the process. I just wanted to make a clarification to, I think, a misunderstanding that might be on the exterior storage buildings. There is no new foundation that's being built with respect to these storage buildings. They're essentially temporary structures that you construct on site. They sit on footings that are adjustable, like adjustable foot furniture, and there is no new foundation. In fact, the currently paved asphalt area is being reduced by that 5 meters I mentioned. There's a lot of passion in the room tonight, a lot of people here that are quite frustrated with respect to some of the activities that have been going on with respect to the property. And as I mentioned, we've met with the neighbors on numerous times, and it's a shame that we haven't been able to address a lot of their concerns sooner. But our hands have been tied in a lot of aspects in respect to that. And as I asked council, I would hope that we can work with bylaw enforcement to identify, in fact, if there is any bylaw infractions in relation to that access, which then gives us the legal right to close that gate. But unfortunately, as I've said to the neighbors, should that not be the case, then when Slag's lease does expire in 2017, we will not be renewing a lease with Slag, and we will be closing the gates at that time. Our goal long-term is to eventually convert the entire building into a self-storage facility. But it takes a long time to stabilize a business of that size, especially given the scale of the building. So we would like to eventually have that be the case, in which case it'll be a very, very low impact use. And as I mentioned, self-storage is the lowest impact use. We don't get large commercial vehicles. We don't need access on Halford Street. It's a business where you come in your station wagon, you come in your van, you come in your truck, you come in your car, and you are bringing boxes. You might have a small U-Haul that you rent. These are not vehicles that operate late at night. And one of the concerns I heard mentioned, which I'd like to make sure the neighbors are aware of, which is important, is the concern about if somebody's moving in. What if somebody's moving from Edmonton and they take the 9 o'clock ferry from Vancouver and they're not aware of the bylaws? Well, we don't allow move-ins outside of our business operating hours. So our operating hours are somewhere between, we established, 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. start to 5 to 6 p.m. Close. Unless you're a customer of the facility that's already existing, which means you're not moving in, because we have specific processes for move-in and move-outs, you wouldn't be moving in late at night. You wouldn't be moving in after business hours. So I hope that provides some relief that issue wouldn't arise. But thank you very much for allowing me to clarify.
Jordan, I'd like you to stay there for a moment. I believe there may be some questions for you. Councillor Dunn.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not directly to the applicant right now, but to staff. The applicant has just indicated that he would be closing the gate in 2017 on Hulford. That's nice, but it's a good old thing, in God we trust, and everybody else pays cash. Is there a way where the applicant can make that commitment legally defensible?
That was something that we would need to pursue further review on, because there's legal issues around granting of access to a property and removing it, and then obviously we need further verification of the lease agreements, and the applicant may be able to speak to that further, but we would need to review those to provide council direction that yes, it could be done or not be done.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure the intent is there, but council has to have more than intent, in my view. Thank you.
That was your question. Mr. Milne, you mentioned that for your storage facility you don't need the entrance on Holford. But right now there is an entrance that you'd be using on Holford. There's the Sleg entrance and then there's the second entrance. Can you talk us through that, please?
Certainly. The secondary entrance on Holford Street is a pre-existing access area and entrance area. We don't need the gate at the end. We don't need a secondary access to the property by way of vehicle traffic down Holford Street. But the gate that exists will be utilized. That's separate of this application, just so I can clarify. That's already happening and being done. This application is in relation to the new building and the outdoor storage compound. But the overhead door on Holford's is a secondary position for people that are closer to that door that have rented a locker space. But if I can give you some statistics just so you get an understanding, self-storage on average for every 100 lockers you have, you get between 1 and 2 visitors per day. So with 540 lockers, we're talking somewhere between 5 and 11 people on a daily basis will visit the facility for that use. Those could be people that are coming to pay their rent to the manager. Those aren't move-ins where 5 to 10 people are moving in every day. That could be coming to grab a box from your locker. It could be coming on site for any number of reasons. So our actual traffic count or traffic impact is very significant. And with over 60% of our lockers being strategically located closer to our main entrance, our main access, that means that Holford will be very lightly used by our business in relation to the existing overhead door access that exists about a third of the way down the street.
Councillor Saunders.
Mr. Chair, you own the property, do you?
Yes.
So if you have control over the door onto Holford that will come from this new self-storage unit?
We do.
Well, then you could have the opportunity that you could close that off and not have people access to it.
I can, but not except for Sleg's lease, which provides that they have the right to access that. But there is a clause in their lease that provides them to comply with all of Saanach's bylaws. Should they be infraction in bylaw, then we maintain the right to remedy that. So should there be declared a nuisance business because of their use and the access off of Holford Street, that gives me the legal ability to be able to close that gate. Otherwise, we hold ourselves open to liability associated with any financial impact that they incur on their business.
Is that the same access as the storage
No.
unit?
No.
So there's 2 accesses?
There's There's 2 accesses on Holford right now.
Yes.
One is a drive aisle access at this, right next to the Slides business, this is the,
Yes.
the issue.
Yes.
And the other one is a ramp down into a two-stall parking area where there's an overhead door, which is a part of the self-storage business.
So what I'm asking you, can you not close that off?
The one for the self-storage business?
Yes.
No, it's required as a secondary access point for our business.
So you do have control over that?
Over that particular access point, yes. Yes.
So that's my point, thank you.
So we heard today that the setback variance is a cause of concern for some of the residents who feel you'd be too close to their living space. And they're suggesting that the number of meters involved, which is around 2.5, 2.8 or something, doesn't seem to be too great for you to move the units. They may involve 3 of your 540 storage units. How would that impact you if that was something you wished to do?
It's not 3 lockers. I don't know where that member got that. I can't tell you the exact number, but I know it's much greater than 3. It does impact us in the event that it changes our unit mix. It impacts us the amount of area that we can provide. You know, for us, what we've done in this application is increased it from what it is now in relation to the neighboring setback. So I was taken a little bit by surprise because I thought we'd worked pretty well with the Bearland Strata in Elsie Lane to put up a solid fence, to plant some vegetation, to basically have a building at a height that is below the trucks that exist right now, and a use that is so low impact that it should have a significant improvement upon what is happening right now, but I was mistaken.
Councillor Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm wondering around the access off Holford, could you restrict what hours it's open?
Yes, I believe that